What's up, world? This is Coach Gaffney, aka Coach Mental Health. I am so excited that we get another episode, another opportunity to talk to you about mental health, but also from the coach's perspective. Here with our channel, we like to talk about those individuals that influence the athlete. So the athlete is the center, but they have a circle of support that everyone plays a part in. So, Coach, introduce yourself.
My name is Wendel Ivory. I'm the head boys basketball coach at Boswell HS, which is in North Fort Worth.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate that. Coach Ivory, thank you for making time to come out.
No problem,
I think that first off, we want to shout out this beautiful facility, La Quinta. Make sure that if you have an opportunity to stay between Arlington and Fort Worth, this is right off of 30 in East Chase. It's an amazing location, great facility. Thank you to the staff and those who've been accommodating to us being able to shoot this episode here in this beautiful conference room. So, Coach, let's get into it.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you said you're a head coach. What made you, or what were the deciding factors that helped you get to that point? Why did you decide to become a head basketball coach?
Well, I started out wanting to be on the other side of the camera.
Okay.
I was a radio, television, film major.
Okay.
At Sam Houston State University. After I was finished playing ball, had exhausted my eligibility. I started to start thinking about my future.
Okay.
And I had my minor was kinesiology.
Nice.
And and one of my professors or teachers, a lady by the name of Kathy Camerata.
Okay.
She was a middle school PE teacher, but she was working on her doctorate at Sam Houston, so
Okay.
she taught some classes there too. And so we would work with her a lot of times to get extra points, extra credit, doing like field days and
Gotcha.
things of that nature. And she set me up one time to coach a 10 and under
Oh, wow.
YMCA basketball team. And I was doing this for extra credit.
Yeah. How old were you about this time?
About 22,
Okay.
23,
Okay.
around that age. And from that point, I started coaching. We only had one practice a week, and we played on Saturdays. And
Wow.
I don't know, man. I got bit by the bug because I saw the growth of those kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of got me intrigued. And so from that point, I went ahead and added. I had taken a lot of history classes, so I added history. So I had a double major, and kinesis was my minor.
Got you.
And graduated, got my certification, and started teaching and coaching.
That's dope, Coach. That's dope. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. You said that when you're exhausted your eligibility, so
Yes.
I'm assuming you spent some time on the hardwood.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to
Yeah.
us about that. You know, what was that your playing days like?
Okay, I kind of felt like my grandmother, rest in peace, my dear. My grandmother would always tell me. Yeah, my grandmother would always tell me that basketball was my worst sport. She said, she said, boy, you're a much better football player if you ever played basketball. And I would admit to her that growing up, football was my first love. And I didn't really get bit by the basketball bug until I was about a 8th or 9th grader.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was kind of late to it because basketball was a challenge for me. Football, baseball, everything became kind of easy.
Okay.
But basketball was more of a challenge, and me being the person that I am, I love a challenge.
Yeah.
So that's what made me start working on my game.
Right.
And I got to a point where I was good enough to make the team, and I went to Dunbar High School. And if you know anything about Dunbar High School in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, they were you had to come on with it just to get a uniform. Let's put it that way.
Dunbar and Fort Worth.
Yeah,
Check that out.
Dunbar.
Yes, sir.
Fort Worth,
yes,
Dunbar.
Sir.
Legendary Coach Robert Hughes Sr. Okay.
Stacking them up.
Yeah. So I was able to get myself together, make the team, and I never looked back.
Okay. So did you play in high school?
Oh yeah, high school.
And then you play the next level?
Yeah, I went from Dunbar High to Blinn College.
Okay.
My freshman year down in Brenham, Texas. Transferred from Blinn College to Navarro College in Corsicana, Texas, and from Corsicana to Sam Houston. I was able to play ball.
Man, that's awesome. Man, that's awesome. So I can imagine that you've had a number of experiences as an athlete And I'm sure, like many athletes, there are things that translate from being an athlete to now as a professional, man. What are some of those lessons, dude, that you remember hearing and learning that translate?
I have so many. Let me just say this.
Shoot them down, Coach.
I've been, and I talked about this in my basketball banquet about 2 weeks ago. We had a banquet.
Okay.
I've been on a team in one way or another, coaching or playing every year since 1975. I've never not been involved in either being a student or a teacher, or a player or a coach.
Wow, Coach.
Since 1975, I've been on a team.
Wow.
And so I understood at an early age, in order for me to be, because I love winning, I love competing. In order for me to be at my best, I needed my teammates to be at their best.
Sure.
And so I've always been a team player. I never cared about individual awards. I received some, but I never really cared about it. I was happy to see my teammates be successful. I always been that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, I don't care if it was soccer, baseball, basketball, track and field, whatever. So
did you play all of those?
Oh yeah, growing up, I had to be on the team, man. I needed a uniform.
Man, so you year-round athlete?
Yes, I needed a uniform.
Year-round athlete. You hear that, right? Year-round athlete.
Yes.
Go ahead, Coach.
I needed a uniform. And so, and it was my outlet, growing up. But as far as the lessons, teamwork, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't be at my best unless my teammates are at their best.
Sure.
That goes, towards, that's family. That's your family dynamic. That's a work dynamic. That's a church dynamic. That's everything. So teamwork has always been real important to me. One of the biggest lessons, and this is the one I got from my high school coach, hard work equals success.
Wow.
Okay.
Expound on that.
Yeah. You have to put your work in, guys. There's no way around it. Okay. There's no way around it. A lot of times athletes, myself included as a young player, I always wanted to find a way to make it easier, my job. How can I make my job easier? But in sports, you're really not making, you got to put the work in. There are certain things that you're going to have to do in order to be successful. Very simple formula, but it's not easy. It's not easy. And once you understand that and embrace that, you can take off. And that's what, and I as I look back at my playing career, I really didn't get a good understanding of that until I was maybe a junior in college, sophomore in college, junior in college.
Wow.
And I remember sitting in practice one day and the coach was talking and I was just holding the ball. I had the ball. I was just sitting there.
Yeah.
And as the man was talking, other assistant coaches chiming in, I was just looking at everybody on the court and I was saying to myself, if I can do A, B, and C, that's going to allow him to do D, E, F. And if he can do D, E, F, he can do the rest of the alphabets over here. You know what I'm saying? So, but I got to do my part. I have to do my part. And I was just sitting there, and it's kind of like from that point forward, the game was in slow motion to me.
Wow.
And I could kind of do anything I wanted to do out there. But I had put the work in.
Yeah.
I had put the work in. And it was something that I could kind of talk to, younger teammates about. Like, hey, man, you don't need to wait until you get my age to learn this.
Yeah.
You need, this is the formula. It's simple. You got to work. And when you work, good things happen.
Wow.
And of course, that's something I want to instill in my children. That's something I've always instilled in the kids that played for me. But it's universal. It's not just for sports. It's for everything. You have to. One of my parents told me about 10 years ago, it can't, what is it? She said, it can't work out if you don't put the work in. I said, can I steal that from you? She said, all right, it's yours.
Repeat that again, Coach. That sounds like it's quotable.
It can't work out if you don't put your work in.
It can't work out until you put the work in. Wow.
And that kind of encapsulates my idea of you got to put the work in order to be successful.
That's incredible.
That's a quick one. Yeah.
Coach, man, you giving it to him already, dropping gems on him. I think that's really awesome that you said something about and spoke to the point of transferable. It's not just in athletics. It's transferable. You had mentioned your family. What else has it transferred in?
I'm saying family, fraternity, friendships, work, of course, church. You know, all of those entities.
That's awesome.
Yes,
That's
sir.
awesome. Again, we're here live, Coach Gaffney, aka Coach Mental Health, and we are at La Quinta, Fort Worth, North Fort Worth. Come check them out. They're off of I-30 in East Chase. Amazing facilities. We'll come right back after these messages. We are back here, Coach Gaffney, aka Coach Mental Health. We are at La Quinta Inn here in Fort Worth, Texas. It sits between Arlington and downtown Fort Worth. Please check them out. I got my guy, Coach Ivory, with us. Coach, now you've been in the game for a minute. How long have you been coaching?
Man, I started coaching because it's kind of like when people ask you how long you've been married. I know I started my first year of coaching in like a professional, getting a paycheck. I coached, AAU and stuff like that before that, but 2001.
Okay.
So we're in 25, so it's about 24 years, 25 years.
I know you've seen a drastic difference between the game then and now. Like, since you are coaching high school athletes, what does recruiting look like for those athletes now?
All right. And I'm going on what I've experienced.
Absolutely.
Of course, being recruited, it was totally different. I graduated high school in the late 1980s. It was totally different then compared to 20 years ago, compared to 10 years ago, and definitely compared to today. Today, I'm just going to talk about today. A lot of the decisions that kids and parents think they make in terms of recruiting have already been made for them.
What?
Okay.
Speak on that.
I was at a TABC when Bob Knight, legendary coach Bob Knight, was coaching at Texas Tech.
Okay.
So he spoke at the Texas High School Basketball Association, TABC. And he talked about one of the most valuable things in the recruiting is recognition. Recognizing what you bring to the table, honestly, and understanding where you fit in. Because a lot of times a kid, and I got some more to add to this, but a lot of times a kid may think they're a high major Division I player, but no high major schools are recruiting them. This is the point where I'm saying some of these decisions are being made for you. They may be being a mid-major Division I. They could be a Division II. They could be NAIA, or they could be a situation where the only people that are trying to recruit them are JUCOs.
Wow.
Okay, and we'll touch on JUCOs again because, again, JUCO today is not what JUCO was when I was in school.
Okay.
Because technically, the NCAA owes me 2 more years of eligibility.
If it was back in the day and you could fast forward it now.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's game.
Okay.
Giving them knowledge.
Okay, so.
Drop them nuggets, Coach.
Oh, ain't no problem. So, again, a lot of times a kid may have their eyes set on a particular school, but that particular school is not recruiting them. Wow. So it's always, and I've my own kids, children, like, hey, we're gonna go where the money is. We're not gonna try to reinvent the wheel here because it's obvious. I mean, it's real simple. If this school is willing to invest in you, then that's the school. Now, if this school over here that you really want to go to is not willing to invest in you, then why are we even looking over here? Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is it is very, very difficult in 2025 as a high school senior to be recruited into a high major college.
Wow.
Today. because of the transfer portal.
Okay, get into that.
Because of COVID and a lot of people got an extra year, and because the NCAA rule on medical red shirts has become so loose that you could almost say anything and get another year of eligibility.
And this is for students who are already in college.
Yes.
So
which makes it difficult for kids to get those scholarships because all they're doing is playing musical chairs from from mid major to what they call it, Power 4 today. You know, a lot of coaches at these Power 4 conference schools, and in basketball, you could add really a Power 5 because the Big East is like a Power 5. It's like in basketball.
Yeah.
A lot of these coaches would rather get a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old who's already been in the college game and they know defenses that are more sophisticated than a high school defense as far as rotations and things are concerned, things they don't have to teach. So they would rather pull that kid in.
Wow.
We haven't even mentioned NIL and the money. Haven't even mentioned that. So that's another dynamic. But that's what happens. And so when I was coming out, you had two choices. You were either eligible to receive your NCAA Division I scholarship, or you had to go to a junior college and play for 2 years and then get a D1 scholarship, you know, after you graduate from the junior college. Today is not like that.
Wow.
A lot of kids that I've coached over the years, they look down on like junior colleges and NAIA schools and Division III or Division II schools. And my thing is, guys, if y'all knew the statistics on how many kids play high school basketball versus how many kids touch a college basketball court, if you knew
any college,
if you knew the statistics of how the odds are so weighted against you to even touch a court, you would be glad to get on anybody's court in college. Wow. If you knew the statistics, which is basically 2% of all high school basketball players actually play college basketball.
College. 2%, or roughly 2%.
Yes, it's about 2%.
You can stretch it to maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
But no higher than 5.
No, no, sir.
So wait.
No, sir.
So make that math make sense for me because I'm a history teacher.
Yes.
So on a team of 12, a team, let's say a high school team carries 12 guys. Out of that team of 12, 2% of that, 2 to 3%, let's say 5% will make it.
Well, basically, I was a little fortunate when I was in high school. We had a really good basketball team. When I was in high school, I think we had about 6 or 7 guys on the team play Division I basketball when I was at Dunbar High School.
So you talking about special people?
Well, it was.
You talking about a special group?
We had a program.
Yeah,
and that's, I know that's stating it mildly, but let's just say we had a program. I've had situations where I had 2 kids playing at TCU at the same time. They played for me, but they both played ball at TCU, high major program. But they were like 3 years apart. 4 years. One was I had one as a freshman and one as a senior. So when Big Adric left and went the junior college route and ended up going to TCU, Charles came out of high school as a freshman and went to TCU. They were on the same team.
Yeah.
But again, 4 years apart.
Yeah.
And that's about, if you think about it, that's about the percentage of kids that will not only play college ball, but play at one of the top tier schools.
Wow.
On that level. It's very difficult. It is very difficult. And that goes back to the work. It is very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is very difficult. Now, that goes back to what Bob Knight said, recognition. If you recognize where you actually fit in this recruiting conundrum, okay, where you fit in, then you can kind of, it guides your decisions better. Okay. You no longer look at I don't want to say a school's name, but a lower level school. You don't look at a lower level school and turn your nose up at them. You are really, you are being a part of the process of being recruited. Now, here's another thing. I've had kids that they were not interested in a particular school because let's say they already had their school and the school that they wanted to go to, and that particular school was recruiting them, have offered them a scholarship. So but they hadn't signed or whatever. So other schools are still saying they're open, they're recruiting. I've had kids to kind of, I'm not going to say be disrespectful, but I will say dismissive of some of these other programs. And I say, guys, the coach that's recruiting you right now at school A, which is, let's say it's a Division II school. In 2 years, he may be at school B.
That's some perspective.
He may be at school B, and now you're ready to transfer from your school to this school. And if there's a relationship that could have already been established here, because you never know, a coach can. I know coaches that 1 year they were coaching JUCO ball, and all they got paid was a meal ticket, and they got to stay in the dorm room. They were doing that for 1 year. 5 years later, they're at University of Texas. They're at Texas A&M. They're at University of Houston. They're at TCU. They're at SMU. So of course, this is because I've been in the game and I've seen these things take place. So I'm able to tell kids, hey man, I know that that's not the school you want to go to, but make sure that you're respectful and you look interested and you're responsive to what they're talking about, because you just never know.
Wow.
You just never know.
Wow, Coach. Man, so many nuggets. I hope you parents are paying attention. Athletes, I hope you're paying attention. Coaches just threw a couple of nuggets in there about how the coaching carousel works too. That was a nugget. If you weren't listening, you missed it. Because let's talk about this. You've been in the game for a while, and I'm sure you've had the highs and lows, as people call them, of being an athletic coach. How do you personally take care of your wellness as a coach in a demanding field?
Okay. Let me start by saying basketball is a very emotional sport. High emotion in basketball. Let's start there. You have a lot of people that I've seen. I spoke with a lady, my wife is a realtor. We did an open house today, and a girls coach recognized me. She said, do you coach basketball? I said, yes, ma'am. And then she said, where do you coach? And I said, Boswell. And so, I coach. I'm not going to tell you the school she coached, but we played each other.
Right.
And she recognized me from that. Of course, the girls' game and the boys' game.
Right.
All right. She was saying that she got her a new job as a golf coach at another school because she's about to retire and she didn't feel like she could make the next 5 years if she had to coach basketball because it's so demanding and she's emotionally spent, basically, to add to your point. So it's very real. Now, for me, I handle it a lot better, and I'm talking about the highs and lows, because again, this goes back to being on a team. In the course of a season, there are going to be some good times. There are going to be some bad times. There are going to be some more good times. There are going to be some okay times. Okay, in the course of a season. That's life. How do you handle it? How do you maintain in the midst of all these different emotions, the highs and the lows? Okay? When I was a younger coach, it was rougher for me because I was coaching basketball from a player's perspective because I had just finished playing.
Right.
All right. Which ratchets the emotion up times 10. It took me about 5 to 6 years to understand that Coach Ivory, Wendel Ivory, you're no longer a player. You're a coach. And you have to look at it from a coach's perspective.
Okay.
The game.
That? Yeah.
Okay. And that comes with age and maturity, of course. Not to mention, each year I coach, there's an age gap between me and my players.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
When I first started, I was closer to their age. I mean, we listened to the same music, but as I got older, I was becoming more and more removed from them age-wise. And so that helped a lot. So when I started looking at the game as from the perspective of a coach, I saw something totally different. I saw the big picture. Okay. Now, when you see the big picture, that helps you with the highs and the lows, because I know we're going through a storm now, but the end game is still obtainable. Okay, it's still obtainable. And because it's still obtainable, I'm not worried about this storm. We're going to come through this. Why? Because I was in this same storm 4 years ago. I was in the same storm 10 years ago. We good. We're good, guys. Hey, oh, man.
You preach it, Coach, man. You preach it.
I tell my kids, like, it may be a tense situation sometimes, and I call timeout, or other team, opposing coach calls timeout. And I just look at them in the eyes and I say, look at my hands, guys. I'm steady.
Yeah.
So you need to be steady.
Yeah.
Now, in order to win this game, we're going to have to do this, this, and this. If we do these things, we win. We good.
Wow.
So, but that just comes, like you said, as far as the mental health side of it, being able to cope with the highs and the lows. There's an end game, and we've already established what that end game is. Now we're in the process of taking steps to get there, and as the coach, I got to stay locked in on that. There's always going to be issues with. I got a kid that's injured. I got one kid, he's not passing his classes. Yeah. I got one kid, he's not getting enough playing time. He don't feel he's getting enough play because he lacks recognition. He
going like back, circling back. Then that's a teacher right there.
Yeah, he feels like he's not getting enough playing time, so he's just grumbled. Now he's at practice, with bad body language. All of these things are gonna happen. I got parents calling me, Coach, why is my kid not playing? You're gonna get all of these things. You're gonna get principals calling, Coach, one of these kids got caught down in the hallway with a girl.
Yeah.
All of these things happen in the midst of me staying focused on that end game. Where are we trying to go with this? And as long as the coach, can stay focused on that end game, all of this is just okay. We can put all these in line. We can handle each one.
Yeah.
Handle each one because I got my eyes on the end game. Now, at the end of the season, this is something else I had to learn. At the end of the season, however the season goes, I have to have recognition with myself.
Okay.
And go through and say, okay, I could have did this better.
Wow.
As a coach, I could have done this better. Because if nothing else, I want to be a better coach for those kids. I do. I want to be how do I become a better coach? I have to be highly critical of myself. Knowing, quite frankly, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I know what I'm doing. In terms of high school basketball, I know what I'm doing. But that don't make me perfect.
Yes, sir.
So how do I become better? There's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And so that kind of helps my mental health.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, I kind of decompress about a week, and then I go back and I start to break the season down. And I'm looking at myself. I look at every game again. Mind you, I've seen these games 25 times.
Of course.
I look at every game again, and I just watch me.
Wow.
And I just watch me, and how I interact with my players.
Yeah.
What I could do better to get a little bit more out of this kid or a little bit more out of that kid. But it's a process. It's a never-ending process.
Yeah, Coach.
Never-ending.
Man, I heard so many things repeating. Self-reflection is huge. You said focus. As a head coach, your focus has to be on that prize. And I heard, I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza that said, where attention goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
And so you're saying my attention is on this. It's not on the moment. It's not on this moment. It's not on this moment. I know I have to handle those moments, but this is the moment that I'm looking at. And whatever that obtainable goal is that you're talking to yourself. As you talk about self-reflection with yourself, what are some things that you've self-reflected and grown through as a coach? What was a used to be that's not now anymore?
Okay. One of the biggest things is I don't fuss with referees anymore. I talk to referees, but I don't fuss at them anymore. Because, and this is something I've just learned being around the game so long, and doing, and everything I'm about to say, I've been a part of it.
Okay.
You got the coach's, the player's perspective of the game. So all these people are at the game and they see 5 different things.
Yeah.
You got the player's perspective of a game. You got the referee's perspective of a game. You got the fan perspective of the game. You got the parent perspective of the game. Okay. And you got the coach's perspective. Parents look at the game one way. Usually,
often biased.
Yeah. Because they got their focus. And as a parent, my daughter, big time volleyball player. My son actually played for me. As a parent, I'm watching my child.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Yeah. I'm focused on them.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to win, but I'm focused on them. Now, me, a little bit different. That's my wife, but me a little bit different since I am a coach. I'm kind of looking at the big picture and what we got going on, so I can kind of do that. But as a parent, that. Of course, a player, all players want to do well. All players want to help their team win. I know that. My job is to help them with that. Referees. I don't want to get fined.
Yeah, please don't, Coach. All right, so next one.
Next one. Let's just say referees look at a game a certain way. Okay. And hey, I've refereed before. So I know, as a referee, I'm going in the game. I could care less who wins.
Yeah.
I'm not supporting. I don't have anything against this coach. I don't have anything. That's where I kind of separate, because I know some referees have certain things against coaches. But I digress.
Coach, what's the next perspective? I don't want you to get fined either.
Hey, I digress. You got the fan perspective. They just want their team to win. They don't care if they win by 1 point of it. They want their team to win. If you are a fan of a particular team, you want your team to win. And if the referee calls 30 things for your school or team, and they call 3 things against you, you're going to boo the 3 things that they call against you.
Yeah.
Fan perspective. I mean, fan is short for something for a reason.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, because it don't make sense. Their fandom, it don't make sense. All right, so all these different perspectives, as the coach, I got to understand that I cannot be upset with a parent because they want to see their child be great. I can't get upset at these referees because I'm not gonna get upset because they're human. They make mistakes too, and maybe they're not cheating. Maybe he just blew a call. Maybe that's what it was. So I told you, I don't argue with referees anymore. I say, ref, what did you see right there? Okay, well, this is what I saw, but that's okay. You made your call, and I'm back. I'm back to my area, my box, as they call it.
Yeah.
But that's just something that takes energy and motivation and strength away from my kids. I can't worry about the referee. I need to worry about these kids and what they're doing and what I can do to improve it, as the coach. So again, and I'm talking about just one particular game, I'm focused on how when this buzzer goes off, we're going to have 1 more point than them at least. Okay, what do we need to do to get there? So I'm focused on that. So I don't really have time now. And don't get me wrong, I've been coaching in this area for a long time, and a lot of these referees I've been knowing for 20 years, and they've been calling my games for over 20 years. And we get along fine, because I'm a new Coach Ivory. I'm not fussing with them anymore. Yeah. I don't get technical fouls. Yeah. I don't. I don't. So I say what I have to say. Yeah. I listen to what they have to say, and then I'm with my kids. Yeah.
That's real, Coach. Thank you for sharing that.
That's one thing I don't do anymore.
Yeah. I appreciate the growth. And even 20 years in the game, 24, years in the game, you still see the opportunity for growth.
Oh, yes.
I think that's dope.
Yes.
So last thing, we're gonna land this plane, Coach. I hear a lot of perspective from the athlete to the athlete to the athlete to the athlete. You brought up an amazing analogy that I've never heard, but I can identify with that 5-fold perspective. If you were to say anything about coaches that are inspiring to be in this profession, or even coaches that are young in the profession, or coaches that are older in the profession. What are some things that you can give nugget to, speak to, give encouragement to, and say, Coach, check this out, right? Have that locker room talk real quick with some coaches.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to say is something that most coaches know anyway, is you cannot want it more for the kids than they want it for themselves. Okay? It's not going to work. You'll be frustrated. You will definitely damage your mental health. And don't get me wrong, some coaches cannot move away from that, and because they cannot motivate kids, they can see something in the kid don't even see in themselves. Some guys have gotten out of the game frustrated because of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess that leads me to this. Do not get into coaching for you. Get into coaching for the kids, the athletes, the people you're going to coach. When you know that you're doing everything in your power to help those athletes become successful, you should be able to sleep good at night. Okay? I'm not talking about wins and losses. I'm not talking about problems with your administration, okay? I'm just talking about you as a coach with those kids, with those athletes. If you are there for them, and that's your primary focus is helping them, then you should be able to sleep. You better sleep good at night, guys. I mean, but if you're in it to see how many wins you can get or whatever, now I'm not saying that's bad, I guess, but you will forever be frustrated because you can never win enough games, okay? You can never win enough championships to satisfy the psyche of the average human being.
Yeah.
But if you are in it for those kids, whether you win the championship or not, you're going to be able to sleep good at night because you know you've done everything in your power to maximize what those kids had. And sometimes, I know this is hard to believe for a lot of people, but sometimes you can maximize a kid's potential and a team's potential, and it's not good enough to win a championship.
Or a game.
Or a particular game.
Or get to the playoffs.
Point made.
You heard it straight from the horse's mouth, as my grandmother used to say. Not to call you a horse, Coach. Hey, this ain't East Texas come out. We appreciate you all taking time and spending time with us. Coach Ivory, man, thank you for not only the years of service you've given, but the fact that you've taken time to invest in these young men and women and the communities that you've been able to be a part, and really just kind of genuinely give game and give life to some people that may not understand or know it. I think that this is going to reach a number of parents, coaches, players, probably some officials. But all of that said, man, thank you for showing up the way you do. Any last words before we cut it out?
I just want to thank you for allowing me to have this platform to speak, because what we're talking about is what I love talking about. Kids and anything we can do to help them, okay, become better at whatever they're trying to do, And I appreciate the platform, so thank you.
Absolutely. If you hadn't checked out Boswell High School, I'm not going to, I'm not going to say anything about, all of that, but I'm just saying you want coaches that are going to impact and impart into your children. So if you're around the Fort Worth area and live in the neighborhood.
Yes, indeed. Boswell High School.
Check them out. Boswell High School. It's Coach Gaffney, a.k.a. Coach Mental Health. We got another one in the bag. Thank you for joining us. Check us out. We'll have our postings every week to let you know what we got going for Mental Health Awareness Month. But remember that your mental health is your responsibility. So take care of it. God bless.